The boogeyman is real, and you found him.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up.
What's blood for, if not for shedding?
I'm your number one fan.
I like to dissect girls. Did you know I'm utterly insane?
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
7 days.
I am Dracula.
We have such sights to show you. Boy!
I said, I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash your brains.
I am the eater of worlds and of children.
What's in the fucking box?
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
One by one, we will take you.
Never get out of bed again!
You gotta be fucking kidding.
It rubs the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again.
Welcome to prime time, bitch!
Welcome, horror fans. It is Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central Time, and it's time for another episode of the Week in Horror podcast. This week, we are closing out Season 5 with a look back at select horror films released September 15th through September 21st, sorry. Thank you all so much for joining us for what will surely be a bloody good time. I am your host, JL, and I hope you all are doing fantastic. You see, I'm in a circle. They've made some changes to StreamYard. I thought I would try out the circle and see what it looks like, and I can tell you this, I'm not a fan, so I'm going back to the square, or the rectangle. I'm going back to the rectangle. How is everybody doing tonight? This is fantastic. It is wild. Before we dive into everything, let's make sure we put up that Patreon banner. Those amazing people down there who have made this show possible. We appreciate you very much for the past, for 5 years. Many of you have supported the show for like an entire 5 years, so, it's been amazing. The ride has been awesome. 5 years. It's insane. This is the season finale of our fifth episode of our fifth season. So it's wild. And let's see who we have in the live chat tonight. I see Raven Darkstar is here. Good to see you, Raven. Casey Cooper as well. It says, well met. Kudos to Week in Horror for the conclusion of season 5. Yep, this is pretty amazing. Let me see here. McKinnon Mitchell's hanging out. Says, behold, I am on time. I hate that I missed so many of our Pluto Nash fan club meetings. Hell yes. And I'm glad you're here because it's the season finale. Season finale of season 5. This is fucking crazy. 5 years we've been doing this. Travis Brown is here. Good to see you. Says Evening L. Finally saw Barbarian and the new Beetlejuice film, and both were great. Sad that this is the it's going to be amazing. But we have stuff to dive into that. Left-handed Jedi says rest in peace, James Earl Jones. Yes, rest in peace to James Earl Jones. It's wild. Because we just on the last episode talked about a movie that he did back in 1990 with Brad Dourif, a little two-hander horror anthology called Grim Prairie Tales. So we got to talk about a James Earl Jones film, one of the rare horror films he did, and then he passed, not a week later. So it's wild how that happens sometimes. But we're going to miss James Earl Jones. Rest in peace to a legend. Absolute amazing dude. So, he left us so many great characters. But yeah. Incredible stuff. So it's such a damn shame. Always hurts to lose a legend. It really does. B Blanco is here as well. Good to see you, B Blanco. Thank you so much for being here. Casey Cooper said, will any of the panels be here? Possibly. The invite is out, so they have the link, and they may be busy right now, so we'll find out. Let me see. Who else do we have here tonight? Who else? Left-handed Jedi is here. Good to see you, Left-handed Jedi. B Blanco says, finally, I'm here on time. Thank you so much. Sarcasm says, good evening, lads, last season, everyone in between. Good to see you, Sarcasm. Appreciate you being here. Lieutenant Jedi's been a member of the Army of the Dead for 9 months. Thank you so much, Lieutenant Jedi. I appreciate that. Let's see. Who else do we have here? Angel Rivera's here. Says, what up, Horror Fiends? Good to see you, Angel Rivera. Thanks so much for being here. I think I caught everybody who was in. And Joshua Lee says, Joshua's doing okay. Good to see you, Joshua Lee. Thanks so much for being here tonight. Got a lot of amazing people in the live chat. So, yeah, 5 years. 5 years of Week in Horror. 5 years straight. We as I believe it was Casey Cooper who brought up 260 weeks. 260 weeks. We have not missed a beat. So this is the 260th episode of Week in Horror. So we started in September of 2019 and have not stopped since. Had solo shows had, huge panel shows, all kinds of stuff, done Bloodbath Debates Live, done all kinds of cool stuff. So, and y'all have been here through most of it, through virtually all of it. I see names every single week. Everyone was, we were getting over the hump. It's always a blast to kind of get over the middle of the week with you all. Paracord Princess is here. Good to see you, Paracord. Extra J as well. Says, greetings all. I get to catch a show from the beginning today. Thanks for leaving work early. Thanks to leaving work early for neck and shoulder x-rays. Well, I hope you're okay. Hope you're feeling better. So, all right. But man, I reflecting back on 5 years, before we dive into stuff, because we got an interesting lineup tonight. Reflecting back on 5 years, I was always looking back at the things that we have learned, or did I say the things that I have learned? Because I don't want to speak for any of the other crew members, but the things that I have learned as far as running this business, running the technical of a podcast, social media, running the store, all kinds of stuff, is that we went into it blind and with like no experience whatsoever. Now we knew business. We the economics of a thing, but diving into making a podcast, to making a show, talking about things that you love, and then trying to bridge that gap between your love and other people's love for it as well, and try to provide something entertaining every single week, is that it was easier to get into than I thought, and yet harder to build than I thought, and harder to get out. There's one thing that I love, and is sometimes kind of frustrating about the horror community, is that it's really, really tough to break in, but once you're in, you're welcomed with open arms. It's really, really tough. It's a very, very insular group, and breaking into it and getting known for things is a challenge. That was the biggest challenge. The biggest takeaway was, I'd say, in the last 5 years, was how hard it was to get that momentum within the horror community. That took a lot longer than I thought it would. We do have our core audience that we were really, really popular with, and it was just, but doing the work, it was just about putting your nose to the grindstone and getting it done every single week. Whether it was cutting all the trailers for the Terror 2, whether it was putting together, jumping into Premiere and cutting all the thumbnails, doing all the social media deals for Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and getting all those things scheduled, all the pictures pulled, everything resized, all the posts written out, and Raven Darkstar brings up, and being able to do that with virtually no drama. Okay. Which we thought was, it's a Mothman shirt. So I picked it up when I was out east, when I went to go visit the museum, the Mothman Museum in Point Pleasant. So, with virtually no drama, because a lot of channels fall to drama, and it gets out of hand. But that we're all here, and all the crew is here, and all of you are here because we love, this genre and the work that goes into it and the opportunities that it is open. We didn't expect, we did not expect, but we were kind of like, you never know what could happen, us doing the show. And it was like, maybe it could lead to other things, maybe not. But it started out as just, us having fun, deep diving the stuff that we love, reminding ourselves every week why we love this genre and why we do what we do as filmmakers and storytellers. And that was the big thing on it. The love for it out, made the work, made the grindstone stuff bearable. And it's been an absolute blast, but I'll say to anybody out there wanting to start McKinnon says virtually no drama. JL, I suppose this is a bad time to tell you I'm pregnant. It's yours. Well, a man's body is his choice. A man's body is his to choose to do with. So yeah, but I'll support you whenever you decide, McKinnon. I fucking love it. So, that's the big kicker right there. If anyone out there is thinking about doing a podcast, it's way easier to get into than you'd think to start doing. So you just have to keep doing it. And so make sure that you at least know what you want to talk about, have a subject every week or every 2 weeks, or maybe even every month. If you do it like a monthly show, have the thing that you want to talk about. Plan it out, as we constantly talk about. It's always about planning to have, and the way this show evolved and the way that we planned it has become so technical. And I the breakdown to the fine details. So whatever we're doing, like the stuff that I'm reading over here on this screen, and the things that we reference in order to talk about the movies we talk about, taking notes, doing our research. And, it's just about doing that. And I believe that if you love what you're talking about as much as we love what we talk about, then you will find your audience. So it's all about diving in and just doing the work. And the work, and I won't lie, the work is a bit of a slog. It can be. Sometimes it can be an absolute grind. And you're just sitting at your computer, one after the other, one after the other, one after the other. And I tried to find different ways to, like, especially when doing the social media posts. Social media posts were just killer because it was all about writing everything out. I had like multiple files where I wrote everything out individually, had all of the pictures, and then drag and drop everything over to the scheduler, and then making sure everything's going in the right place at the right times. So, and doing that like months in advance. I actually for season 5 this season, I did it all. I did like all of season 5 all at once, so I didn't have to worry about it anymore. So I just handled it. Same with the thumbnails, just handled it all at once. That was like a week solid of work. So just like grinding in Premiere and Adobe Schedule and all this stuff, but you can do it, So don't let the work scare you off. If you have something you want to talk about, if you have a partner you like to talk about things with, if you have friends you like to talk things with, and you thought about starting a show and being creative, you can do it as well. You absolutely can. So I welcome you to do it. Take it from us. We started out as a way to just kind of fill the time as a creative endeavor when, right before the pandemic hit, and then it kind of like found its niche, and then we just kept going because we had such a blast every single week doing the show and getting to hang out with all of you. So it was really, really cool. So, and here we are 5 years later, 260 episodes later, or 260 episodes in, and here we go. It's been a wild and amazing 5 years. The opportunities it's opened for us, the people that we've met, the people that we've worked with, the chance to do to write and do films. Now we have 11 to 6, something that I wrote, Eugene directed, Johnny produced and starred in, and is running the circuit, running the festival circuit and getting in all over the place. So it's really exciting times. We never knew it would get to here, but you stick it out. You stick it out and you do it. And we wouldn't have been able to do it without all of you, each and every single one of you. So they wrote in Olsen says they say the best career is a hobby that makes you money, and that's the kicker. That's the absolute killer, is because oftentimes when your hobby becomes your job, you sometimes can lose the love that you have for it, or you can forget why you loved it in the first place. And that was the point of this show. The point of this show was for us as professionals to remember why we got into it, because you can be a fan sitting in the audience enjoying what is put out for you, or you can go out there and you could do it yourself. But when it becomes a job, it becomes a 9-to-5 grind, and you turn your fan love into the job that you do. Okay, and enough time goes by, you may kind of forget why you were a fan, because sometimes the slog can get you. And that's what this show was about, reminding us every single week why we love this thing so much, why we love this genre, why we love these movies, why we love talking about them, why we love all of you, why we love this community. And it's been an amazing ride, an absolutely amazing ride. Oops, I accidentally hit something. There we go. I fixed it. All right. So, but yeah, 5 long years. It's been an absolute blast. It's so much fun. The other thing that we have is the other thing I wanted to talk about before we dive into tonight's selection is it recently hit The Wire. And this is coming out of being produced by Blumhouse and being directed by Lee Wannell, who directed The Invisible Man. There is a teaser out for a new Wolfman film that just dropped a couple of days ago, and we pulled it so that we can watch it on the Terror Tube, and we got it queued up. So here is the teaser for the new Wolfman film coming out in 2025. Let's check this bad boy out. Let's cue up the Terror Tube.
You can run, and you can hide, but you'll never get away.
Drop it! Buster. What were you gonna do, huh?
Nothing. I was just playing around.
Well, we're playing now.
Forget it. She probably just got the name wrong or something.
Hodgkins, what's to get wrong?
What did you say?
Huh? Wait a minute. Who am I here?
that's right. I'm bad.
What was that thing, Blake?
It sounded like an animal. But I swear to God, it was standing on 2 feet.
Daddy, are we gonna die?
No, it's my job to protect you.
What's wrong with Daddy?
He got sick.
Please, Dad, you're scaring me! Blake, stop! Daddy, is that you?
Yes, that was the teaser trailer for the new Wolfman coming out. Expected January 17th, 2025. It's currently in post-production. So we're going to kick off 2025 with the new Wolfman. A new Universal monster is coming. Directed by Lee Wannell, who directed The Invisible Man. And The Invisible Man was amazing with Elizabeth Moss. That was a fantastic film, you know? And so really looking forward to this one. I'm kind of curious about what the monster's going to look like, how they're going to, what direction they're going to take that in. But the synopsis is: a man must protect himself and his family when they are being stalked, terrorized, and haunted by a deadly werewolf at night during a full moon. But as the night stretches on, the man begins to behave strangely, obviously because the dad was bitten. So, yeah, like that. But directed by Lee Wannell and, of course, written by Rebecca Angelo, Lauren Sugar Blum, and Corbett Tuck, starring Julia Garner, Christopher Abbott, Sam Yeager, and Matilda Firth. So, top-notch cast, excellent casting, good director, good tried and true director. Lee Wannell's been in the game for some time. So, looking forward to this new entry into the Universal Monsters. A new Wolfman is coming. So, I think the last real Wolfman movie we got was the Benicio del Toro film. Benicio del Toro, Emily Blunt, Anthony Hopkins, Hugo Weaving, which I really thoroughly loved. I loved it because the Stan Winston effects in that one, the Wolfman film, was classic. Yet, it was a classic spin. It paid homage to the classic, but had a nice little modern spin to it. Looked really, really good. This one looks kind of fascinating. I get the feel from watching that teaser a couple of times. I get the feeling that they may be taking some hints from a movie called Where, which had AJ Cook in it. So I don't know how many of y'all have seen that one, but it looks like the monster design may be taking some hints from that movie. So we may see some overlap there, but nonetheless, looking forward to strong cast, strong director, good history, and coming off of The Invisible Man as far as Universal monsters go. Looking forward to that. All we need now is a creature from the Black Lagoon. So let us know down in the comments below or weekinhorror@gmail.com if you are looking forward to the new Wolfman film coming out in 2025, supposedly slated for January 17th, 2025. Or if it's Blumhouse, it could be hit or miss, maybe, don't know. But if you're looking forward to it, let us know down in the comments below. Based on the teaser that we got, we're definitely probably going to get a full trailer in December. But yeah, I'm saying I'm 60-40 on this bad boy. I'm 60-40. I definitely am. I see Aaron Reese is hanging out as well, and I see Aaron Reese is hanging out, and Johnny O is there as well. It says it's going to look like a wolf, man. But very nice, very nice. I like it. I like it a lot. All right. So that was the teaser trailer for Wolfman, and we've got some movies to dive into tonight. Some interesting ones, some interesting flicks. And Sir Kev says, hate to say it, but I'm going to wait for it to start streaming. Ah, gotcha. Waiting for the Where Honey Badger. That's unstoppable. Where Honey Badger is unstoppable. So, Extra J says, I love the Where Mole episode of Courage the Cowardly Dog. Hell yes, absolutely. But the Where Honey Badger, you can't have it. Nothing would be able to stop it. It would just destroy everything. So apparently there's a pic of the new Wolfman from the Universal theme park attraction that looks bad. Well, it's a theme park attraction, so I don't know. I'm not going to base it off of that one. We're going to see what the theatrical version looks like. We'll probably get a better look when the full trailer comes out. So I guess we'll find out. So, all right, but let's, on this our season finale, dive into our selection tonight. First up, me go ahead and pull that out of there. First up, released September 15th, 2018, we have the psychological horror, The Basement. Let's check out this trailer. Cue up the terror tube.
It's my unusual urgency when I ask, what faith, sir, are you?
What faith?
Religion. You're not Catholic, are you?
You might say that I am, well, non-denominational.
Come and get it!
Let me know if this hurts. No brain, no pain. Think about it.
Forgive me for the for I have sinned. I've killed 7 people, tortured them in unspeakable ways. For these sins, I ask absolution.
Something has happened to my husband. He went to the store, but he never came home. Have you heard about this Gemini killer? No. He always answers his phone. He'd find a way to call him.
Perhaps an interesting tattoo.
It's Gemini. They're a twin. A very lost soul.
How difficult would it be to knock out a tooth? I would think enamel would be a lot harder than that.
Please, not my left hand.
Yes, that's okay. I'm sorry. There we go. Everything is set.
Yes, his name is Craig Owen. Please just check again.
Untie me right now! Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who have trespassed against us.
Sometimes what you see on the outside is not what's on the inside. I smile all the time.
They're doing bad things to me.
I don't want to die.
Yes, that was the trailer for The Basement. So, directed by Brian M. Conley and Nathan Ives, and written by Brian M. Conley, Nathan Ives, and Sean Decker, starring Misha Barton, Jackson Davis, Caleb Long, and Tracy Thorns. The film follows this husband as he goes out to run an errand, and was kidnapped by a prolific serial killer called the Gemini Killer, who then proceeds to torture him for what it's first, seems to be his own edification, but there seems to be a bigger thing going on here. And as the mystery begins to unravel, shit gets really, really strange. So in this particular one, I gotta say, we're beyond this. We're beyond the moratorium on spoilers here. So I'll just go ahead and break this down if you didn't have a chance. So yeah, just probably going to spoil this one. It's not often we get to see a movie. We get to watch a movie that wants so badly to be taken seriously, but is ultimately held back by the technical aspects of the movie. What should have been, and Travis Brunson looks like a split knockoff. And unfortunately, that was the one thing that kind of like aggravated me, because the film itself is, the way they marketed it is not what the film actually is. They play to that aspect of the movie, but that's not what's actually going on. In reality, the Gemini Killer, as they showed up at the end, the Gemini Killer utilizes the multiple aspects of himself, or utilizes these multiple characters that he plays, where he plays each individual one as kind of like a one-man show. That's a one-man autobiographical show of basically the traumas of his life. And he does that as a kind of coping mechanism as he kills his victims. So he's a serial killer and he's an actor, and he's a failed actor at that. So, but he's utilizing his skills as an actor, his training as an actor, to kind of like go through the motion of it. So it's part of fulfilling his fantasy, is this autobiographical one-man show that he puts on for each one of his victims. And as it turns out, he calls himself the Gemini Killer, and it's actually, you expect there to be something a little bit more to that, but there actually isn't, because as it turns out, the whole thing is a freaking setup, and the guy's, and this is almost given away at a number of points by virtue of the acting alone. And I have to say, for Misha Barton is a very talented actress, but unfortunately, she kind of gives away her almost, I almost want to say non-committal. Like, this is the importance when you have such a massive twist and it's hinging upon one person being able to deliver the subterfuge that is necessary to keep that twist hidden until the end, to the appropriate point. But Misha Barton is so non-committal in the role, and the way she delivers her lines almost seems, as a character, it doesn't feel organic. It feels very performative. Like she's checking all the boxes of things she needs to do for someone whose husband has gone missing. And so she's just doing the things that she needs to do in order to get to the final moment. And because it's so performative, it feels like the character is performing. Because of that, it turns out that, I mean, you're not surprised when you find out that she is actually the sister of the serial killer. They're twins. And so she enlisted her twin brother when she recognized the details in the paper that were being written about the Gemini Killer. She recognized the details, and then she goes and connects with them. She goes and connects with him and says, "I know who you are. I know what you're doing. My husband's cheating on me with my best friend. I want you to take him out and then take her out as well." So that's the whole setup. But she damn near gives it away. Beyond that, the film really doesn't amount to much more than torture porn in that respect. But it's the performances in the two-hander section between the husband and the killer. So I will have to say, is trying really, really, really hard to take itself seriously. But it is the audio, the lighting, and the camera work that let the actors down. Because I will give it for that. The two actors, the primary actors, Jackson Davis and Caleb Long. Jackson Davis is Bill, and Caleb Long is Craig. And so as the two of them play off of one another, okay, there could have been some really, really interesting emotive dynamics between the two of them, the unspoken moments, like the quiet moments between them. And they give it their all. They really do. The performances are there, but I would have to say, unfortunately, Conley and Ives either don't have the technical capacity to capture it correctly by either lighting the scene appropriately, because the lighting throughout all of the basement scenes remains flat. And the flatness of those informs it's made even worse by all the dynamic lighting that is done in with the wife, who's doing the whole thing where she's wondering where her husband is. She brings over her friend, yada yada yada. And the lighting there makes it all the more is a very, very stark or very starkly demonstrates how the lighting and the audio sequencing in the basement sequences is not up to par. With better lighting, I would say take some notes from Fincher on that, to be able to play that two-hander, so it doesn't come off so amateurish. Otherwise, this could have been a really, really fascinating character study between these two, and then I would say cast someone other than Misha Barton, or whatever, because Misha kind of gave away the game in her flat, affectless performance, and so it's kind of like she's awfully kind of like there's no emotion there to kind of like drive the worried wife as to where her husband went. And then, of course, subtly dropping into the whole, I think he's cheating on me with her best friend. Her best friend's the only one she calls. Her best friend comes over, doesn't call his parents, doesn't call her parents, doesn't immediately call the police. Or she does, but then they say a missing person has to be reported, for 24 hours. And so, as Raven says, just looked it up, this is based on the Zodiac. I don't see how in that respect, because the Zodiac, the kills don't match over. So either way, I think that they just took some elements here and there and kind of applied them over. The script itself is not bad. The writing is serviceable, and at some points it's actually pretty strong. But they failed to capitalize. And I think it was just budgetary-wise, dragged this down. The scenes with Misha Barton feel extremely staged. Everything feels like there's only one sequence in the film that doesn't feel like it was completely staged, and that was his escape sequence when he actually manages to get out of his bonds, which turns out it's a part of the ruse. He actually manages to escape, and he gets out, and they get into a fight, and he gets recaptured, which is obviously what's going to happen. And then it just doesn't go anywhere from there. And Sarcasm brings up it was poorly paced and yawn-inducing. That was the problem with that. The editing-wise, it could have been a little bit tighter, but if we're trying to go into a character study where we're trying to get into the mind of each individual, then it would be important to really to have that kind of to have those lingering moments. So editing-wise could have been a little bit tighter, and allowed the audience to kind of invest themselves a bit further and not walk. Ostensibly, he's fucked the minute he goes in there. There's no, it's very, very obvious. He's not getting out of this alive. So everything's just a red herring. It's all just BS there. So Raven Dark says trivia. He is based on the real life serial killer known as the Zodiac Killer, who had praised the original film as the best satirical comedy that I've ever seen. If I remember, I think that was about The Exorcist, wasn't it? Anyway, so he is based on the real life. I don't know. Okay, so we're getting into a little true crime here. I don't know why it'd be based on the Zodiac Killer, because the Zodiac Killer targeted couples in Northern California, and typically, and so on lovers lanes areas, didn't kidnap individuals, didn't go into extensive torture, to this degree, like cutting off fingers and burning with a blowtorch and beating them, then knocking out their teeth. I don't see that. As far as Zodiac goes, I could see Zodiac to Gemini, but that's about as far as I could see. That's pretty much it. And of course, like the playing off the alternate personalities, when in actuality it's not alternate personalities. It's just him playing the multiple characters that he has encountered in his life, or that he imagines he's going to encounter in his life in that respect. So, and there were ciphers in the there were, but nonetheless, I guess they may have pulled elements from it, but, either way. In that respect, we have a film that tries to be more than what it actually is, but I think is ultimately failed by the direction and by the technical aspects of it. Lighting could have been a lot stronger, a lot more dynamic and that's what's important about this. When you're trying to convey a two-hander like this one and have two strong actors who can play off of this, and I will give this, even a film like Nefarious did that exceptionally well. Because when you're in a prison setting, with like in that film, they were in a prison. They were like the general population area where they're just sitting at a table. Very similar to Law Abiding Citizen with Jamie Foxx and Gerard Butler. When you have two people in that setting, even though if you've ever been in a prison, it's extremely well lit. It's very well lit because of the cameras. The cameras need to be able to see everything, and so it's very security minded. But in order to make that effective and evocative, you need to be able to play with the lighting and have fun with that, which means you have directional lighting that is set up to make sure that the audience sees what they need to see. And then you have the things in shadow so they don't distract away. And you don't want to blow out, like have your entire wide shot overblown because everything is so well lit up, because that distracts. So it's important to, even though it's not really, doesn't really comport with reality, it's really important to be able to not distract away from what your audience needs to see in order to have these characters convey their stories. And we do not get that opportunity. It may have been because of the small working space, that the area that they were working in the basement was actually quite small. And I in that respect, I don't know. But I can say it may have been budget in that respect. I thought it was an interesting premise, but could have gone a little bit better. And I was really kind of surprised. I was really let down by Misha Barton, because Misha is actually a really, really strong actress. And to see her phone this in for basically a paycheck and give away the game, because when the twist finally comes, there's no surprise whatsoever. And when he shows up, because they're leading up like he was like, oh, I've got your address. I'm going to go and visit your wife next. Like then he shows up and they're brother and sister. It's kind of like it drops the ball on the very twist that's supposed to make the thing compelling. And I think that to Misha Barton. So That's the importance of casting, the importance of your lighting, the importance of your audio. You need that audio to be dynamic. You need to be able to capture the sounds you need to in order to help the tension. Johnny O would speak extensively on this, how the tension was never really built up in the basement sequences because you never really got to hear what you needed to hear to build it. Okay, same audio situation with the scenes with the wife, because especially when you have your actors just a hint, when you have your actors sitting on a leather sofa, okay, you need to be able to mic that appropriately. Otherwise, every time they move, you're going to be picking up the sofa, and it's really, really annoying. So little amateurish, screw ups here and there, boom, 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 and it just kind of take you out of it. So unfortunately, a bit of a wasted premise. Could have been interesting. I think they had the will, but they just didn't have the means to make it happen. And ultimately, we wind up getting a torture porn film that really tries to take itself. It wants so badly to be taken seriously as a kind of Finchian character study. And it just is not able to pull off. But kudos to them for trying. It's ballsy. They got it in the can. And I wish I could say it was an absolutely terrible film. It did have some moments in it. I wish I could say it was a lot better than it deserved to be, but it wasn't. It unfortunately just falls kind of right there in the middle. Another one just kind of in the bargain bin, which is such a damn shame, to see, talented performers kind of go to waste in that respect. So that was kind of a bummer there. But given what we saw, and given how the performances and the technical aspects kind of give away the game, I'm kind of curious. I wanted to ask you guys out there, the twist, okay, that she was his sister the whole time, and this was all a big setup. Okay, she was using a serial killer. Her brother's a serial killer, and she's just like, "Oh, this is so amazing, and I'm going to use you to my own ends." Okay, that twist. Did you see it coming early, or did you get it when it dropped? Because I saw it coming early, that she was somehow in on this. I got the hint that she was involved. Okay, I didn't know about the whole twin thing. That kind of came, but her affectless performance and the lack of energy in what she was doing, and how it felt like she was kind of setting her friend up, asking those questions were coming up. They're so affectless; they're coming off as rhetorical. When she's asking, when she's implying that I know you're cheating with my husband. My husband's cheating with you. They weren't. It was so affectless that it was almost rhetorical. That why is the friend denying it at this point? She's talking to you like she knows. Don't deny it at this point. But it's just it's kind of silly in that respect. Did you see it coming early? Did you see the twist coming early, or did you didn't see it coming until they actually dropped it? That's what I'm kind of curious about this one, because I caught it early. So let us know down in the comments below at weekinhorror@gmail.com if you saw this one coming early, or you got it when they dropped it. So Sarcasm says telegraphed with a sledgehammer. Yeah, I can see that. Travis Jones has never seen it, so no comment. You gotta watch him, dude. You gotta watch him. It's from Exorcist 3. Oh, okay. Yeah. So, yeah. Sarcasm says, once the comparisons to better films begins, I know that my opinion that it sucked is justified. Absolutely. You can see the inspirations there. And I don't mind taking inspiration from stronger directors. I really don't. And use that and run with it. But don't try to replicate it if you don't have the technological access to do so. Otherwise, it's going to come off as a ham-handed attempt, and it's going to ultimately drag the film down because it's going to be more distracting than it is, servicing the plot or servicing the performances. So really, really, wild stuff. I wish it had been better. I really do. It had so much potential going in, but ultimately, the minute the clown shows up as a clown, the very first character he pops up, the minute he shows up as a clown, that was the opportunity to show that this was going to be a little bit different than other stuff. When he shows up as that, because it starts off, he's playing the clown, and then when the darkness comes in, the lighting on that would have been really, really good, because you can light a clown in multiple ways to make them terrifying, or to make them, or to emphasize the happiness, and that's where the lighting should have taken place. I knew this was going to be problematic. And then the various other characters that come in, I'd say the best performance he gave was actually as his mother, when he portrays his mom. That was nuanced. That was strong. of all those characters. I was actually quite impressed, you know, in going that route. The way he conveyed that and his emotive capability. I just wish the fucking lighting was better because he had makeup on and the flat lighting just kind of like overshadowed him. So it just kind of like it overexposed his face. So it was so distracting, so obnoxious in that respect. Yeah, such a wasted opportunity. But yeah, let us know down in the comments below or weekinhorror@gmail.com. Let's move on to our next one, which is a little bit more interesting. This comes from that decade that Eugene loved the absolute most. Released September 19th, 2007. We have The Last Winter. Let's check out this trailer. Cue up the terror tube.
I'll do you real slow.
Hey! What the fuck?
Mydell, it's a pleasure. I rushed right over as soon as I got your call. You came to the right man. I happen to be a self-proclaimed Marx Brothers expert, if I say so myself.
Well, I'm sure your knowledge of bullshit is limitless.
Empathy with the land. Is this learned in childhood? The land has changed. Something up here is off.
Where's my welcoming party? It is good to see this team taking shape here. Everybody's gearing up.
James Hoffman, meet Ed Pollock.
How you doing?
How is it you come to work for North? You're not the type.
We work for the American people.
What the American people want is energy independence.
Temperature's been all over the place.
Well, my only concern is getting my equipment in.
Tundra is barely frozen. Maybe you're gonna have to reconsider your plans.
That's the wrong answer.
There's a fierceness in the wind I've never felt before. Something is being unleashed. What happened out there yesterday?
It's coming up from the ground. It's haunted. I want to show you. I'm further out now. Listen.
Did you hear what he was saying?
Get out of my way!
I'm telling you, there's something out there that's trying to drive us out of here.
You see it?
I need evidence.
There's a corpse outside. That's evidence of something.
We're not leaving the station.
It's not safe.
I'm in charge here!
Why wouldn't the wilderness fight us? Like any organism would fend off a virus.
Open your eyes!
Yes, that was the trailer for The Last Winter. So, directed by one of our favorite directors here, Larry Fessenden, and written by Larry Fessenden and Robert Lever, starring legendary Ron Perlman, Pato Hoffman, James LaGrosse, who we talked about in Bitter Feast a few months ago, and Connie Britton, as well as, and I gotta give him a shout out, Zach Gilford, who played Elias Voigt in the new seasons of Criminal Minds. So really, really good stuff. So the film. This is a fascinating one. The film follows a team of an oil crew that's out in the Arctic, out above the Arctic Circle, and out within the Arctic Circle, and they are trying to move on with the next project. And so a new environmentalist is brought on to ensure that everything is going to plan. But strange events start taking place out there in the Great White Nothingness, and it seems to be that this team is no longer alone. And as members begin to descend into insanity, shit begins to really hit the fan. This one, okay. I have to say, I fucking love Larry Fessenden. I love his work. I love it. Yeah, Connie Britton, she's an actress. Yes, she is an actress. So I love Larry Fessenden, and I've been a fan of Larry Fessenden ever since Wendigo. His very first film, Wendigo, came out in 2001, and it was the first he wrote it and directed it. And he's always been able to attract really strong actors to his work, to the things that he writes, and I love that he's able to do that. I mean, Patricia Clarkson was in Wendigo, and I was kind of like, holy shit. So the way he's able to grab people in and with his writing is always fantastic. He has a strong grasp on character drama and tackling topics that are nuanced and speak to people on kind of and speak to audiences on a kind of a primal level, which I really, really thoroughly enjoyed about this one. Now, given that it's an oil company up in the Arctic, they're talking about drilling, and this is going to be, and we have environmentalists there talking about the environment and, the damage that we're doing to it. You almost have the expectation that this is going to be kind of like hitting you over the head with an environmentalist message, but fortunately it does not. Fessenden is adept enough to not wander too far from the track and not forget what movie he's making, that his vision for this was, was sustained throughout, which is why I thoroughly enjoyed this one, just as I enjoyed many of his movies. So as far as horror elements go, it's an interesting exercise in unreliable narration and character dynamics in a tight space. So you've got elements of like The Thing, where you have a team that's been, cloistered in a tight environment where you kind of get the homage to The Thing there, which is like where paranoia can run rampant, and when things start to come unwound, real personalities start kind of like, especially when you have Ron Perlman, because Ron Perlman was brought in because, I mean, who's going to argue with Ron Perlman? And so Ron Perlman is there as kind of like the chief leading everything. And so everything is really, really interesting in the character dynamics, not to mention because he's got eyes on Connie Britton's character, and Connie Britton is fallen in love with the environmentalist dude. And of course, he's the oil guy and he's the environmentalist. They're at odds with one another. And so it's a boiler. I would say it's a pressure cooker set to blow. So we have this fantastic setting where the environmentalist is coming in. Invariably, he's going to give bad news because he's going to tell them what's going on. They're going to bitch because their paychecks are on the line. So you have the classic environment versus, capitalism arguments there. And I love all the nuances. Plus, when you have strong actors like Connie Britton and Ron Perlman and Peter Hoffman, James LaGrosse coming in, when you have these individuals who can deliver these performances, the nuances of them and how their internal monologues are as important as their external monologues, you're gonna get great stuff, and it's great stuff throughout. Thoroughly enjoyed it, so much so, not to mention the cinematography. For as cheap as the film was, or as little money as Larry was working with on this one, he was getting it financed. Okay, compared to films like this, when you're shooting on location, I love the fact that he was willing to spend the money it took to shoot where he needed to shoot. Now, originally he was planning on shooting in Canada, but unfortunately, Canada is simply not as flat and it's not as flat and barren as he really, really wanted it to be. So they did shoot some sequences in Canada. Some sequences were shot in Canada, but the primary stuff was shot in Iceland. And shipping everybody out to Iceland to go and shoot there, always an expensive gamble, but it pays off because that's where the kind of like, I say the kind of connection to The Thing kind of ends, because we have that sparse, flat, barren environment that is really that is as much a character as everything else, and it's beautifully shot. It never does the landscape in a solid white daytime. That's really, really tough because you get a lot of sun refraction, and it's going you can blow blow out everything in your frame, and he always manages to nail exactly when to shoot so that we see what we need to see. But it never looks like you have characters that are just acting against a white background. The creeping dread of the barren wasteland around them is always kind of on the peripheral. You're always keenly aware that they are in a very dangerous spot. And the more that they come unwound and the further they each descend into their own kind of madness, as what ostensibly may be the apocalypse coming upon them, as the ghosts of, and this is where it gets kind of kooky, as the ghosts of the fossil fuels, I guess they tapping into that and releasing the spirits from the earth, and then they're taking revenge upon people, upon humans. As kooky as that sounds, it actually plays fairly well. Now, here's one of the things where where I think it gets a little difficult. Because up until the very, very end, when we have the final sequence, when we've got Ron Perlman and we've got Perlman and LaGrosse who are together, we've got these two characters, Hoffman and Pollock, diametrically opposed, and they're having to work together in order to try and save the rest of the crew. So they're on this journey, they're out there in the middle of nowhere trying to find help, trying to get bring help back. Well, everything is going to absolute chaos and shit back at base, and up till that point, we have smattering glimpses of something going on outside, something out there. We hear noises, but they could easily be the wind. We have, haha, wrote it in the last name. You're very funny. We have sounds that could be mistaken for the wind, or they could be something out there. We have footprints, hoof prints. It looks like there's something out there, but nobody ever sees anything. There's these brief glimpses of stuff that you may see. But then at the very, very end, they kind of like jump on it, and we actually see this thing like full bore. So it comes off very Final Fantasy Spirits Within in that respect, which, it kind of like takes you out of it a little bit, seeing the big spectral moose-like creature. I didn't believe that was necessary, because up until that point, it's very much set up like the ghost things are in Hoffman's mind. That Hoffman is descending into insanity. And it reminded me of that sequence from a show called, I think it was, it was on HBO, where, damn it, what was the name of that show? It wasn't a horror show. It was a drama show about a news crew. And it had, there was a big speech in it in the very first episode, the big speech where he talks about how America's not the greatest country in the world anymore. What the heck was the name of that show? It's not Network. It's not The Network. I'll remember it here eventually. But there's an episode in there where they have a climatologist on who is talking about, climate change, stuff like this. And he's very, very dour. He's very, like, it's like there's no hope. It's like, it's over and done with. You may as well just, it's over, So he's very apocalyptic. I got the sense of that from Hoffman's character. The Newsroom. Thank you very much. The Newsroom, written by Alan Sorkin. Yeah. So in that sequence, I got that from James LaGrosse. James LaGrosse comes off very much like, I'm doing my job because it's what I want to do, but my job is utterly freaking futile. So he comes in with that almost detached energy that slowly descends into madness as he is affected by what's going on with other people. So you never get a sense of what's really going on is what's going on until they finally, in the third act, kind of like, yeah, these ghost things are out there. They're out there and they're real. And I'm kind of like, that because it was almost like Fessenden's first film, Wendigo. Wendigo didn't do that. In the movie Wendigo, you got hints that there may be a spirit out there, but it could also be the new environment driving these people to think and kind of like the things that they've been informed about. They themselves are unreliable narrators. They may be creating the chaos themselves. Is there a spirit? Is there not? The ambiguity. Is that what the Wendigo actually is? I love how Fessenden played with that. It was such an amazing script. And they almost do that again. He almost captures that again with this one until he decides to to really seize it. Yes, there are these ghostly animals out there that are killing everybody. And I was kind of like, kind of a bummer. Because and it was so jarring because there's that one sequence where Hoffman sees the creature or sees the ghost, the spirit thing. He sees it. He's pointing at it. Ron Perlman's Pollock is there. He's like, look, it's right there. Can't you see it? Open your eyes. He's like, I don't see anything. And then like the ghost like hits Hoffman, and then he fires the flare and hits Hoffman and like takes off with Hoffman. It like disappears into the darkness. And Pollock never sees this. And then Pollock ends up getting killed himself. So I was kind of like, what the heck? It was very, very jarring. And I thought it was such a strong lead up to that point. I loved the ambiguity. And I don't say Fessenden's going to ruin the film. He didn't ruin it. I just think it went in a direction that it could have been better. That's solely my opinion. It's my opinion on his art. I'll give him that. Now, despite that, strong film. But I have to make a mention of that final act. That kind of denouement. Connie Britton is the last one alive up at the base. Everyone else is gone. You know, Pollock and Hoffman are dead, are dead out there in the wilderness. Everybody's either been murdered or she wound up killing someone in self-defense back at the base. And then she like passes out, wakes up somewhere else in an infirmary, and then has no idea where she got there. No explanation as to we didn't even know that someone was coming. Okay, because the last plane that came in crashed. That's how like Fessenden's character dies when he shows up. So that was part of the catalyst for things going insane. And there was no radio out. They had no communication. So who picked her up? We don't know. She wakes up in an infirmary somewhere else, walks outside, and you see these big puddles of water because, the permafrost is melting. And there's like that sound on the wind, and there's nobody else around. And she's looking around all like, oh, and then the film ends. That almost took me out of it. Like, I thought that was a tremendous misstep in this one. So I kind of forgive on that one. I don't know why they added it in there. I just kind of like they tacked it on. But as Sarcasm points out, the direction and the acting is freaking pitch perfect up until the reveal of that spectral, the full reveal of that spectral animal, and then like the Connie Britton sequence at the very, very end, which were completely unnecessary. But otherwise, Ron Perlman, classic Ron Perlman. James LaGrasse comes in. Those two play off each other extremely well. Connie Britton is great in there. All the other characters are fantastic. I loved every aspect of it. And I love the fact that unlike some other horror films that have a message, this one didn't slam you over the head with its environmental message. It just gives you things to think about. Interesting plot points to think about as you watch these characters descend into insanity. So I dug that a lot itself. Fessenden's willingness to take risks, to take big risks, to maximize the effort, to maximize what he's trying to do, his story, is always fantastic. And I see that he has a real love for cold places in the snow, in the winter. I've seen it multiple times in his movie, so I dig that he likes that. But it's always a challenge in doing these things. And I love that he's willing to take those risks. He's willing to go that distance in order to make these types of movies. And I hope he keeps doing it. Another good one, I think he had, if you haven't seen him recently, he was in Jacob's Wife. We talked about Jacob's Wife with him and Barbara Crampton, where Barbara Crampton really got a chance to shine in a lead role and kick fucking ass. God, I loved her in that movie. So, but Fessenden played her husband. Solid actor. I would say much better director and a writer than he is an actor. But then again, he usually plays a certain type of character. Sleazy, scuzzy, goofy kind of guys who are just kind of there and doing the little kind of cameo thing. Hey, I'm Larry Fessenden. I'm in my own movie. And, I have goofy hair and shit. Another, like, he showed up in Late Phases with Nick D'Amici. He's worked with Nick D'Amici multiple times. And he was the guy who sold him the silver ammunition to go and kill the werewolf. So really, really good stuff. Gotta love it. But a really enjoyable film. I say an enjoyable film if you can kind of forgive what I think are some missteps towards the end. Raymond Darkson says, I hated the end of Meander for that reason. Full drove me batty. So Meander was so good up until the denouement. And I don't know where the director was going with that one or what they were trying to do, because it was so jarring. It was kind of like, like he was shifting gears, and it just kind of like, and the whole thing just lurched. And I don't know where that went. Same thing with this one. I get that it's insinuating the oncoming apocalypse, but it could have been done in a much, much more effective way. I've seen it done better in other films, but hey, to each their own. He did his deal, and but otherwise, a thoroughly enjoyable film that is anchored by its performances. Fantastically cast, because Fessenden just has gold star record for casting his movies. He really does. He knows where the talent is. He knows what people can do, and he makes use of that. Actually, definitely an auteur. Especially he's been doing it for forever. So, Omni is here. Omni Ouroboros here. Good to see you. Says it was so jarring. It was fully open. Pretty much, yeah. Omni Ouroboros says not the permafrost. Yeah, it was the permafrost. Rodell Sam says, I'm imagining The Thing, but in the end, it turns out the sole survivor was actually crazy, killed everyone, and there's no evidence of the alien. Cabin Fever. Who knows? But given this as another Larry Fessenden film that we talked about, I wanted to ask y'all, because he's done so many horror films. I wanted to ask you, the audience, what has been your favorite Larry Fessenden horror film. Now, ones that he's directed. Now, he's acted in a ton. Like his credits are enormous, going all the way back into 1980. He started acting in 1980. He's been, he was even in Maxxxine. He was in Killers of the Flower Moon. He doesn't just do horror. He's in tons of stuff. He's a great character actor. And as far as films that he's directed, he's been directing since he started with shorts back in 1978 and did a bunch of shorts until he finally got, what was it? I think it was his, short films, documentary stuff, a bunch of stuff like that, until eventually he got his full, his big directorial debut, which was Wendigo. I think it was Habit, but I think that was a short. I'm not really sure. It was a vampire horror film back in 97. But nonetheless, Wendigo, I think, was his kind of where he kind of jumped on it. And then Last Winter came in 2006. So what has been your favorite Larry Fessenden horror film? I absolutely loved Wendigo. I really did. I think that's by far one of his best, one of his most focused and strongest films. And some other ones. Beneath was pretty good. Beneath was good. That was about a group of friends who were trapped on a boat by a killer fish thing. That was in the lake that they were on, and it was like this monster fish thing that was eating them one by one. Fear itself was pretty good. So he's got a bunch. So let us know down in the comments below at weekinhorror@gmail.com your favorite Larry Fessenden horror film. Okay, mine's going to be Wendigo. I love Wendigo. Although Last Winter, it's not bad at all. But Wendigo was just so strong. Such fantastic performances. Really good stuff. All right. So let's move on to our third selection of the night. This one is kind of interesting. And I know Johnny O was in the chat, but he bounced out because we're talking about this particular franchise, which was kicked off. And yes, we haven't talked about the prior Jeepers Creepers films. The original trilogy, there's a reason for that. And despite the fact that I love the monster, I love the monster. He is a horror icon. But we're going to talk about this one. Okay, so released September 19th, 2022, we have Jeepers Creepers Reborn. And even though this is within the moratorium, I'm not going to abide by it. For this one, I'm not going to abide by that. Okay, because there's some things I think need to be explored about this movie. Okay, not just about the film itself, but the stuff going on behind it. But nonetheless, here's the trailer. Let's cue up the terror tube.
Chase?
Oh my God.
My head hurts.
Chase.
Jesus
Christ, Chase, Jesus Christ.
What's wrong with him? I don't know. Chase?
This is just the beginning. I'm still here.
Don't worry. It's outside. Trust me. A doctor.
You ever heard of the Creeper?
A local legend, right? The Creeper comes back every 23 years.
Then what? Can't believe I let you drag me to this.
This is the Coachella of cosplay.
It is time for our Creeper Draw! Our grand prize is an escape room for two. Creeper theme.
Come on, you two.
Are you sure this is where we're supposed to be?
We'll be out there in no time.
What the hell is that?
Yeah,
trap.
There's no way out.
Come on!
It's coming.
So that was the trailer for Jeepers Creepers Reborn. All right, some things to say about this movie. Directed by Timo Voronsola and written by Jake Seal and Sean Michael Argo, starring Sidney Craven, Imran Adams, Dee Wallace, and Gary Graham in brief cameos at the very, very beginning of the film. Pete Brooks, Ocean Navarro, Darren Kent, and Jodie McMullen. So the film, we're just going to dive right in. We're just going to dive right into this. Jeepers Creepers Reborn is ostensibly kind of like a reboot of the entire franchise. So ignoring the first three films, a la Blumhouse with the Halloween franchise, the first three films are considered like legend. They're all fake. They didn't actually happen. And the film starts that there is in this particular area, there's the legend of this monster. And there were 3 movies that were made about this legend. And so the stuff with Justin Long and Gina Phillips and Jonathan Breck, the original trilogy, those events didn't really take place. So those are all cast aside. And this is a movie a meta film where it focuses on the inspiration behind the thing. So definitely, if you remember something like this before, Wes Craven did it better in A New Nightmare. So it's taking A New Nightmare slant on the Jeepers Creepers franchise, taking everything that Salva did and just casting it aside. Although there are some nods to the original stuff. So some brief nods, just to kind of some inspirations there. Now, the biggest issue that I have on this there's a number of issues. Number one, the film is fucking terrible. It's absolutely terrible. The performances are shit. The direction was non-existent, okay? Everybody is fucking phoning it in. The creeper itself looks atrocious, was not great. And as a matter of fact, when it shows up, the whole process of it showing up felt very much like I was rewatching Leprechaun Origins, where they tried to reboot the Leprechaun franchise by going in a completely different direction. The Leprechaun was like this gross monster thing, and just it made no freaking sense because it was like, why is this even attached to this? So it was like the WWE produced Leprechaun Origins. It was that fucking bad. Now, what got me about this one? Now I understand how people feel about the first 3 films, about the director's first 3 films. I do my best to separate. I separate the director from the films themselves, and I enjoy the first Jeepers Creepers. I've met Jonathan Breck. He's a fantastic guy. I love Justin Long. The first movie is really good. The second one, not so much. I mean, kind of it's like 1.5, and number 3, because of what happened with that one, was absolutely abysmal. So, it was a shame to see a franchise take the dump. There's a reason why it did. Okay, we don't need to dive into that one. But diving into this one, this film is so fucking terrible by all measures that it almost feels deliberate. And that's what I found so interesting about this. This film did not feel like it was trying to reboot the franchise. This film felt like it was like a deliberate attempt to shit on the original franchise, on the first 3, to shit on that idea. It almost felt like it was this film was deliberately trying to kill it. From the story itself, which is store-bought trash, no effort put into the script whatsoever. It's basically just, there's a cult that worships the monster and likes to sacrifice people to it to keep it happy. It's pretty much it. And then wayward teens coming to festival. When the festival is coming to festival, they wound up getting roped into this thing, and then the battle goes down in this friggin' house. The escape room aspect never really comes into play. The creeper eating people in order to regenerate body parts, that's a footnote. It's not even really focused on at all as that aspect of it. The creeper itself looks freaking ridiculous. The practical effects were atrocious. The design was awful, and it was just nothing works at all at any point. Like nothing where it's just ridiculous in that respect. McKinnon Mitchell says, a psyop. It wanted to kill it due to the issues with the original creator. I got that feeling throughout this whole thing. Every single thing felt like like it was deliberate. Like the studio behind this, Orwo Studios, Infinity Films, Ink Pine Media Limited, Great Point Media, Screen Media, did the distribution. Okay, it was produced by Orwo, Infinity, Ink Pine Media, and Great Point. Now, I'm not saying that was their intention. I'm just saying that, or maybe it was the directors. Maybe it was Timo. I don't know. But when you focus on particular aspects in order to destroy the legacy of the prior franchise, in an effort, I think, to completely destroy the character of the prior director. Okay? That's what I got from this one. Not just a terrible film. It was like, oh, we want to hold on to the rights. We want to keep it alive for potential sequels in the future to use it again. No. And there's a big point there, because this film actually ran into legal trouble. Massive legal trouble because of what they did. Because of what, so Myriad Pictures, on March 16th, 2021, Myriad Pictures, which was the production company behind Jeepers Creepers 2 and Jeepers Creepers 3, they filed a property fraud lawsuit against Infinity Films Holdings, one of the film's production companies on this one, for producing the film without Myriad's knowledge or involvement. So Myriad holds the rights, as it holds the rights to the IP. And then these production companies went forward and did this movie without telling Myriad. So this film is completely unauthorized. And that was another clue on this one. The film has so everything that went in behind this one. And then, of course, and what was it? And they sold the distribution rights to Screen Media Films from there. So Reborn is a completely unauthorized fan film in that respect, is essentially what it chalks up to. But it was enough money went into this in order to, as far as technical wise, because I will say the camera work is actually pretty strong. They shot this thing like I would say composite wise, and the way it was framed. Timo has talent. Timo knows what he's doing as far as like shooting a film. His cinematographer was really, really good. So it's shot really pretty, but everything that's going on and what they fill it with is absolute fucking trash. So they did get it in the can, but I don't think for a moment that Myriad Pictures was trying to like keep this thing alive. Given now they went ahead with it, they weren't authorized to do so. They essentially broke the law to make the movie. And they absolutely didn't give a fuck, because 2021, this was filed and it's kind of like gone away, which means that they just settled out of court. They just settled it and we're just moving on. So I know it's conspiratorial to think psyop in this, but this felt very, very personal, especially given the slight nods to the prior stuff. The whole sequence with Dee Wallace and Gary Graham. Dee Wallace, 80s mom to all. Okay, Gary Graham. Gary Graham from Alien Nation. Okay, two legends at the time, coming in to basically recreate the opening sequence to the first Jeepers Creepers film, and then they show that as kind of like it's a true crime reenactment. You know, it's a true crime reenactment moving forward from there, and that's how we kick off the film. So, just throwing it all in the trash, but then subtly dropping hints, like when they find like the voodoo shrine thing they've set up, and they find like the doll, like the voodoo doll that has Derry's shirt on from the first film, the Bannon shirt. So it's like, well, hang on a sec. So, and constantly dropping notes in there that they are linked, but you know. It felt like a very deliberate attempt to just completely destroy the franchise so that no one will be even tempted to do another, to try and make another film or resurrect this character. Okay. That's what I got. It was, you know, and I find it both fascinating and weird in that respect. I myself have never seen a studio go to lengths like this to disparage or destroy another franchise. regardless of the reason why they're doing it. A lot of people will agree with this, say like that the fucker gets what he deserves. He gets what he deserves, and that should be the end of it. But I've never seen that before. I wish I could describe how awful. For those of you who haven't seen it, it's on Hulu right now if you haven't. But when the vast majority of your film is I'm going to hazard here, 85% of the film is green screened. Like I say 85% of it. And really, really obviously green screened. From the moment I would say the sequence with Dee Wallace and Gary Graham, that was shot on location. No, no green screen there. That was shot on the outside, ready to go there. The car sequences were there as well, and a lot of the exterior sequences, those weren't green screen. But anytime they were in an interior, it was definitely a set, because whenever the exterior is exposed, that's a green screen. On the roof, complete green screen, very obviously green screen. There were moments when it was so bad where the camera would be moving, like doing like a 360 pan, and the background would be moving with the background would be moving with the camera, and the actor will not be moving along with, be moving in a, so you get like this weird offset motion that tells your eyes that the actor you're watching is not physically there in the space that's being shot. And that happens a lot. Like, for example, when they go into the voodoo shop and the girlfriend walks outside and she opens the door and she turns back and looks, and that outside is absolutely green screen. So all of the terrible green screen, all of the terrible effects, non-existent plot, very, very silly. Creature was not menacing at all because they give away everything from the very beginning. And like I said, all of it felt deliberate. Very, very deliberate. And I can't shake that from this film. As terrible as it was, but I don't know. I'm kind of wondering what y'all think. If for those of you out there who watched it, if this was accidental or deliberate, because it felt deliberate to me. A deliberate attempt to make the worst possible fucking movie that you could possibly make. Terrible acting, terrible audio, terrible, the lighting in some places was just atrocious. Terrible writing, terrible, non-existent script, and the practical effects, weak as fuck. Especially for like what the monster's supposed to be. $2 million spent on this bad boy. $2 million spent on this. And it was just fucking atrocious. Absolutely bad. So, and I don't know what it is about that one. I wish I could say I don't know anywhere else to go further on this one, except for the idea that this may have been an unauthorized attempt to just destroy and disparage the original franchise and kind of smear it to the point that no one that whether it is the original the media the company that holds it, which is Myriad Pictures, if they're going to go forward and actually try to do another one or reboot the franchise another way, I don't think they will. I honestly don't. I think this film solidified it, but that's kind of what I wanted to ask you. And thank you so much. I saw that we got some deals. Sarcasm for 555 for a super chat for 555 says, congratulations on 5 excellent years. I've enjoyed every show. Thank you so much, Sarcasm. You rock. And NA has gifted 5 memberships to the Army of the Dead. Thank you so much, NA. You rule. I do appreciate that. But that leads me to the question that I have for you all. And I know there's not much that we can, I wish there was more that we could talk about on this one, but it's so non-existent in that respect that it was not about the movie. The movie's just terrible across the board. There's no redeeming values whatsoever. Okay, especially that stupid fucking cliffhanger ending, which like supposedly he's reborn out of the crow shit, and then the fucking CG white crow that's like running around with the it's like so terrible, so fucking awful. That I really wanted to just wonder. I was wondering if anybody else got that sensation as well. So that's my question for the audience tonight. Was this deliberate? Oh, no. The question I have for you, I have 2 questions actually. Was it deliberate, or do you think it was accidental, or do you feel it was deliberate? And do you think this franchise is officially dead? Is the franchise officially dead, never to resurrect? Because I think it's dead. I think we've seen the last of it. No one's gonna touch it again. It's fucking it's cancer. You know, that anybody who puts their hands on this thing is I don't know where it's gonna. I mean, there's just no point. So I think that it's officially dead. Hey, Armageddon's Fire, good to see you. So let me know down in the comments below or weekinhorror@gmail.com. 1, do you think that this was a deliberate effort to destroy the franchise? And 2, do you think the franchise is dead? There are 2 questions on this one. Okay? Let me know if we kind of concur on those ones. All right? So let me know down there in the comments below or weekinhorror@gmail.com. I'd like to get your thoughts on this one because I couldn't get it out of my head. Fuck the plot. Fuck the plot. Fuck the monster. Fuck all that bullshit. This one, it was so fucking bad. I was more curious about what the hell was going on up in the studio offices when they were planning this shit, knowing full well it was going to land them a goddamn lawsuit, and they didn't give a fuck. They were going to do it anyway. So, you know, kind of curious what you think. Definitely. All right. Sarcasm says, as far as I'm concerned, it was dead after the first. Never should have been franchised. Good point. 2, I didn't mind 2. I didn't. It allowed Jonathan Brecht to kind of play with the character a little bit more and do some interesting things. 3 never should have been made. Never. I mean, I saw what they were trying to do, but it should. I mean, the first one would have been great. Just leave it at the first one. Just a classic monster movie, introduce a new monster, and then move on from there. But, you know, nonetheless, I personally think that the franchise is dead. I don't think it's coming. It's coming back anytime soon. I don't think that we're ever going to get a conclusion to to Trish's story, where she's getting revenge with Ray Weiss and everything. I don't think we're going to get a conclusion to that. I'm not worried about it. I don't give a fuck. But yeah, that's pretty much it. All right, we got one more to dive into, and unfortunately, no trailer for this one because it released September 21st, 1979. However, though no trailer, the full film is available in multiple places for free all over the internet. Dailymotion, YouTube, it's all over the place. So I've linked it there, but that's okay because you wouldn't want to see a trailer for it anyway. So released September 21st, 1979, we have Wolfman. Yes, just Wolfman. So written and directed by Worth Keeter and starring Earl Owensby, Christina Reynolds, Sid Rancer, Ed Grady, Richard Deadman, and Maggie Lauderer. So the film follows a man who finds out that his family has a werewolf curse put upon them and that each generation someone has to be the wolf, and his father recently died, so his turn's up next. And here we go for one boring ass fucking ride. I'm glad that we got to watch the teaser for Lee Wannell's Wolfman before going into this one. I have never seen a monster movie that wanted to talk so much. I get the need for exposition sometimes. I get the need for it. Okay? But in a monster movie, the focus should be the monster. And this movie is so plotting and it's so more focused on the conspiracy behind the monster with the priest and the cult and, you know, cursing the family, and that it almost feels like 2 separate films. Like it's 2 movies kind of mashed together, but it was more supposed to be a kind of like a cult film and then woven into a werewolf movie. And it does not that was the case. It's not that the film is not great. Cinematography wise, it's what you'd expect from a movie at the tail end of the 70s. From the tail end of the 70s. Dread is the biggest issue that I have here is the lead actor. The lead actor I would say does not know how to actually, this is going to go across the board with the entire cast. No one in this movie knew how to act. Like nobody. It almost felt like day laborer acting. Like you got actors that kind of hang out outside the theater and you drive by to go like pick them up, you know, pay them a day rate. And no one knows how to deliver a line. And no one really knew how to do the accents for where this thing was set. Because set on the East Coast, set at the turn of the century, turn of the night, I think it was 1910 is where it was set. And then, but set in South Carolina. And that Charleston accent, that kind of like, you know, South Carolina accent, does not come off. As a matter of fact, it's oftentimes dropped in some sequences. So the actors kind of move back and forth. and there's a lot of really, really funky decisions that are made, and just like plot wise, the wolf aspect seems almost shoehorned in, and it feels like that because there was no trailer. Actually, Jay, no trailer for this one, but the full film is up on the Discord. I've linked it on the Discord. So this one is just that's the important thing. Less filler, more monster. We needed the Wolfman in this one. It's supposed to be a Wolfman movie. Not to mention, if you're going to do a Wolfman, try to make the Wolfman look good, because this Wolfman looked terrible. This looked absolutely awful. I've seen low budget Wolfman, like werewolf movies where the werewolf was with, so much more effort was put into the werewolf. This one, not great. Okay. Also cast better, as far as this goes, but nonetheless, this movie I would say works better as an exercise in understanding why post-production is so important. From your framing, from your lighting, from your editing, audio. Like, the audio problems are apparent throughout, and especially there's one sequence where the way that they were mic'd wound up the way that they were moving, especially I think there's one sequence when he was in bed, and the way he was mic'd actually caught the furniture, and you could hear it drag in the microphone. Well, that needs to be taken out, but they didn't. So it was almost like in post-production they just weren't paying attention, or it was just so shoddily and roughly put together just to do it as quick as they could that they just fuck the mistakes and just get it done and get it in the can. Not great. So post-production, so very, very important. That's the kicker on this one, especially when and acting is wise, because if you're going to have a lot of this dialogue, you need people that can maintain that energy throughout the whole thing. It's not that I didn't like the film. It's not that the film is not good. It's not nearly as bad as Jeepers Creepers Reborn. We've talked about worse. The problem with the movie is that they try to overwhelm you with so much information that the film becomes boring. That's the issue. After seeing what this movie was about, I was more inclined to watch the 2010 Google kept referring to me. Yeah, the Benicio del Toro one. So, but yeah, that's the issue on this one. Period. I mean, as far as shooting this thing goes, technically, you could tell it was very, very problematic. Where they were shooting, there was a lack of preparation. How to try and frame these things, and especially with people in they got parts of things right as far as set design and the period piece costuming and the vernacular, how people would speak, but then things would just kind of fall off, and then these kind of ham-handed shifts to the occult storyline while ignoring the meat of the wolf of the monster storyline, and then this weird subplot going on with the love interest. They took elements from the original tale, which you saw expertly done in the Benicio del Toro one, is a much better version of this. This comes from someone who I think it felt like the guy who wrote it felt almost like he had heard the original story and heard bits of it, but didn't actually read it and didn't actually watch the original film, the original Lon Chaney stuff, and that's why it doesn't work. So, an uninformed director, uninformed writer, not shooting very well, low technology for the time, terrible, terrible acting wise, just bad casting across the board. But ultimately, what was sad about it, this movie could have been so bad it was good. It could have been laughably bad, but it doesn't even achieve that because it's just so boring. It wants to try and be one of those Hammer films of the 60s where you have the magnificent exposition of either Peter Cushing or Christopher Lee, and that's driving it, but those are classically trained actors that are delivering the shit. So it kind of wants to be that, but at the time also wants to be a monster movie and create a kind of sympathetic atmosphere for this thing, but they fail to do either because no one is there to really, carry that task, which is such a damn shame, But this is also why post-production is so important. The little things that you can fix and correct is to try and clean up and tighten up your movie. Cut the sequences that are not necessary. Those long, extended occult sequences, we did not need them. We just needed hints of that stuff. Maybe even some ambiguity there. Leave it to the monster. Even if your film is too short, that's okay. I'll take a better paced, better edited, tighter film that is shorter than a long film that tries to fill you in with so much information that it loses sight of its original goal. Sometimes shorter is better. Show, don't tell. These are important tips to come up with it. And this director obviously did not either untrained, I'm not 100% sure, but like, what was the friggin' point in that? I really don't know. Worth Keeter, you know, looking at his filmography, it's, you know, he's gone, this is so weird because he did this in 79. He's still working today. And, but most recently, the most stuff he's done is Power Rangers. He's done like a shit ton of Power Rangers episodes throughout all the multiple different variations of the show. So that's what he's doing nowadays. And occasionally, like, you know, the made for TV movie here or there, but predominantly he does TV. You know, it's pretty much it. Sir Kevin says, stretch jail. It's only 8:30. That's true. It is only 8:30. It's about an hour and a half. That's what happens when I'm solo. You know, I don't have anybody to add into this with more technical stuff and like that in order to really dive into it. But you know, it happens sometimes. What you gonna do? So, but yeah, the one thing about it, just like someone mentioned in the just like someone mentioned in the live chat here, it made you kind of like want to watch the 2010 film to get this kind of the taste of this one out of your mouth. You know, I have to say, as far as Wolfman films go, not the worst I've ever seen. I've seen some fucking bad ones. Certainly very far from the best. Obviously, the bar is very low on that one. Not the I was ashamed because Wolfman is one of my favorite monsters next to Gillman. But I wanted to ask y'all, what is your favorite monster film or werewolf film? What has been your favorite so far? Your werewolf film, going all the way back 1930s, Lon Chaney, the Wolfman, whichever one it is. So many of Wolfman, not just werewolf movies. Okay, like The Howling, Late Phases, you know, stuff like that, where that's just about where werewolves are there. But the Wolfman, you know, Wolfman film, because there's a bunch of them. So I'm kind of curious as to what is your favorite Wolfman movie where the focus is the monster? Like this movie was not. You know, like what are you gonna do? You know, focus on the monster. That's the key. That's the key. Omnivorous Boros brings up Teen Wolf 2. Nice, very good. I think that was Jason Bateman. Took over the role for Michael J. Fox in that one. Teen Wolf 2. Oh, Rodo Sames says Teen Wolf 2. Nice. Travis Brown says the Lon Chaney, true Wolfman. Fuck yes, true Wolfman. American Werewolf in London. Solid. I'll Die on This Hill. Fuck yeah, I'll agree with that one. Absolutely. Let's see. Oh, Raven Dark says none. Not a fan of the Wolfman. Not a Wolfman fan. Casey Cooper says Lon Chaney as well. Lon Chaney was brilliant. Excellent stuff. So let us know down in the comments below at weekinhorror@gmail.com your favorite Wolfman film. You know, and don't forget, are you looking forward to the new one coming out next year, directed by Lee Wannell? So I'm curious. I'm excited about it. All right. Well, that was our last one. Unfortunately, not a lot more commentary because I'm here by myself, but that's okay because it is everybody's favorite time of the night. You know what time it is. It's trivia time. That's right. It is trivia time. So, get those Google fingers ready. The first person with the correct answer to this trivia question gets a special item from the Week in Horror Store, a mystery item from the Week in Horror Store. So get ready. This may require a little bit of research. Okay? On what date was the first episode of Week in Horror published? On what date was the very first episode of Week in Horror published? First person with the correct answer down in the live chat wins a special item from the Week in Horror Store. Let's see if your Week in Horror knowledge is as strong as you think it is. On what date was the first episode of Week in Horror published? Let's see. What date? I'm looking for that date. Omnivorous Boros says 2020, not 2020. A little further back. I'm looking for the date. What date was the first episode of Week in Horror published? All right, so come on. 1 billion BC? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 100 million BCE. That'd be pretty awesome. We've been going a long time. Oh, no, we're tired. Come on, I know someone's got it. Casey Cooper says September 10th, 2019. Close. I said published. Javers got it. Published or posted? Published. First one published. The first, it's there. You just got to look in the right spot. The date when the first episode was published. Oh, it's so close. Yes! Angel Rivera's got it. October 13th, 2019 was when the first episode of Week in Horror was published. We actually did the first 3 episodes, and then when we decided to go to Anchor, when I found Anchor, we uploaded them all at the same time on October 13th, 2019. So October 13th, 2019 was when the first episode of Week in Horror was published, not the first week it covered. And I see him coming in, Joshua Lee with October 13th. Yep, October 13th, 2019. Yep. Angel Rivera says, remember the question from the 4th season special you did. Nice. Very cool. All right, Angel Rivera, we got your name down. And we will get that printed and shipped to you ASAP. Teespring willing. So congratulations. Congratulations. Oh, man. And that. Oh, Sir Kev says, fix your IMDb page then. LO. We can please pass the gifts. Oh, it's to Sarcasm. Will do. Passing it to Sarcasm. Excellent. All right. Congratulations, Sarcasm. We will get that printed and shipped to you ASAP. Thank you. Very generous of you, Angel. And that, my dear horror fiends, and with that, my dear horror fiends, the time has come to draw the curtain on this episode of the Week in Horror podcast. The finale to our 5th season. And as a few of you already know, bittersweetly, our series finale. 5 years, 45 bloodbath debates, 57 After Dark front row specials, 260 full episodes, 625 hours of content, 1,040 horror films revisited. One incredible audience. It has been an amazing ride, and we want to thank each and every single one of you so much for joining us every week and making this labor of love an absolute best. It's a little bit tougher than I thought it was. We truly hope that you enjoyed the show as much as we enjoyed making it for you. Over the coming months, as we close in on 2025, you're going to see some major changes to the Week in Horror brand as we move further into film production. Writing and actual, shooting films and stuff that's becoming a lot bigger than we anticipated. And so production on this one has become untenable. And there's given the amount of work that goes into setting up each season, 52 episodes. There will still be content being uploaded to the Week in Horror channel. So the channel's not going away. And so you'll still see some activity there. And we'll be using the channel to update everybody in the community tab of any big news that comes along. So stuff that comes along with the films that we make and big announcements. And maybe, you may see us from time to time. But we will certainly miss getting over the hump each week, chatting with you all, and exploring and dissecting all things cinematically macabre. So this has been an absolute blast. Kind of bummed that I'm alone on this one. But I've loved you all very, very much. Love you all very, very much. This amazing audience. You will see me, of course, over on my other channel, my primary channel, doing work over there. Once again, all of our gratitude, all of our absolute gratitude, and all of our love to all of you for being the greatest audience that a horror film podcast could have possibly had. We have new things coming up in the future. But after a good 5 years, it's time to draw the curtain on the podcast. And as we move on to bigger and wilder and crazier things, the opportunities that have arisen, we can't turn our back on them, and the work has to go somewhere. The focus has to go somewhere. And while we wish we could just keep doing the show, there has to be some give there. So you will keep seeing us from time to time. You will get updates. If you, as far as channel memberships go, feel free. If you'd like, if those expire, that's okay. You don't need to keep maintaining your channel memberships to this channel. You don't. as we're scaling back in the content that we're putting out. The Patreon itself will be closed down. We didn't charge anybody for September. So, and that will be going away, and we will be rebranding. So I'll be rebranding a lot of things. The social media posts will continue on through the end of, we'll be continuing on through the end of September, and then those will shutter as well. So you'll get the social media posts up till the end of that, and then those are only scheduled to the end of September. The store, the Week in Horror store, will be up until the end of the year. So if there is some stuff that you'd like to grab last minute from the store before we shutter the store, before we close that down, you can get those last minute items. It's kind of like to remember the 5 years we've spent together. That would be really, really cool. And the Discord itself will also be rebranding. So I'll be changing the Discord. You'll see those changes coming along actually here pretty soon. I've got them prepped and ready to go. And the focus of the Discord will be changing to things more central to myself. And but you will see it's not the end of Week in Horror, but just an evolution as we move forward. We knew the time might eventually come, and it happens to be the end of this year. So a huge thank you to all of you again. A thank you to my co-hosts, Eugene, Alex, who helped me to start this little endeavor, to Johnny and Aaron, who were there, came on towards the end, and helped us to fill out our cast, to my wonderful wife, Angela, who has done all the post-production on the show and done all the editing to make me sound good and make us all sound good. It's been an absolute blast. This will be the last one going out. The audio for this will go live on Sunday, and that will be it. So I wish you all the absolute best. I really do. And thank you all so much for your dedication and your support. It went in a direction we didn't expect, but it's an exciting one. So we're looking forward to what the future brings. And I will see you all over on my personal channel when I'm dropping stuff over there. So from all of us here at Week in Horror, for the Week in Horror podcast, we will see you all again soon. Hopefully sooner rather than later. And as always, stay scared.